Hello and welcome. Tonight, All Progressives Congress Presidential Screening Committee sends shockwaves down the spine of aspirants as it clears 13 out of 23 of its presidential hopefuls. INEC releases guidelines for conduct of the 2023 general election, says Commission will not accept overcrowding at collation centres. Party agents to stay 2 meters away. Lagos State government crushes over 2,000 impounded commercial motorcycles 72 hours since commencement of total ban on motorbike operations. And it's 100 days into the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is optimistic of victory at the end of the war.
On business news tonight, global food commodity prices fall for the second consecutive month in May, in latest report by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization.
And from Abuja, suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari knows fate on the United States government's extradition request as court fixes August 29, 2022 to deliver judgment.
The picture appears to be getting clearer in the jostle for the presidential ticket of the All Progressives Congress, as 13 of the 23 aspirants have been cleared. The 23 aspirants were screened on Monday and Tuesday by the presidential screening panel, headed by former national chairman of the party, Chief John Odige Oyegun. According to Chief Odige Oyegun, only youthful aspirants made the list of those cleared to contest the primary next week.
Well, those who sent us have the report, and I think it is their privilege to disclose whatever is in it, not us. They haven't read it yet. We just presented it. So I can't come and disclose the details. I'm not aware we disqualified anybody, but I think most of them were high-quality people, and they passed the basic test. So that is at the discretion of the party management. What we've done is to tell them that, these people are qualified. Governing a country is not a joke. So you look at the background of everybody, you look at their ideas, you look at their appreciation of the realities of the Nigerian polity, and that is it. The more experience they have, the more contributions they've made to nation building, the more the contributions they've made to the party itself in terms of getting it to be the governing party and the rest of it, and those are the criteria.
Meanwhile, against the backdrop of the reactions trailing his comment in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital yesterday, the national leader of the All Progressives Congress says his speech was misinterpreted. In a statement personally signed by the APC presidential hopeful, Mr. Tinubu claims he was clearly misinterpreted by those with an intent to cause sensationalism and inaccuracies to suit their political purposes. The former Lagos State governor reiterated his respect and regard for President Muhammadu Buhari, accusing opponents of wanting to present a narrative that he made disrespectful comments about President Buhari while he spoke in his Yoruba dialect in the hope it would convince the nation's #1 citizen to oppose his aspirations. He goes on to say, "My respect and regard for President Buhari as Commander-in-Chief of this nation and as a person are high and unfailing. I shall never denigrate him. I certainly did not do so in Abeokuta." Senator Tinubu says that President Buhari is a Nigerian patriot and a man of integrity, while insisting he wouldn't dare to seek an office and disrespect it at the same time. Meanwhile, former governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, has been speaking on the role the former governor of Lagos State played in the emergence of President Muhammadu Buhari as candidate of the All Progressives Congress in 2015. According to him, when almost everyone was distancing themselves from the president, it was Bola Tinubu that took it upon himself to ensure that he got the party's ticket. He was a guest on our political program, Politics Today.
If we can go down memory lane, the relationship goes beyond 2015. It started quite earlier. They made an attempt at a marriage, even in 2011 election. But prior to the 2013 merger and subsequent presentation of Muhammadu Buhari, a foremost traditional ruler from northern Nigeria led his own team, went to Ashwaju in Lagos and told him, not in our name, it doesn't represent us. A group of retired generals equally approached Ashwaju and told him, not in our name, he is not our candidate. So also the northern establishment, a professor, led the team and disowned President Buhari. And to add insult to injury, the icing on the cake was a delegation from Katsina that disowned the president and said he is not their anointed candidate. He withstood all those pressures. And at the presidential primaries in Lagos, without the block vote from the southwest, Buhari couldn't have clinched that trophy.
Meanwhile, Ogun State Governor Dakpa Abiodun has been responding to the remarks by the APC national leader and presidential aspirant Chief Bola Tinubu during his visit to the state yesterday, where he said that he was instrumental to the emergence of Mr. Abiodun as governor. In a tweet on his handle, the governor says, "I am not an emperor by any chance, and this is not my family inheritance. I am holding this position in trust for all the people of this state, and I have vowed to be fair, just, and equitable, and this is the solemn agreement I made between the Almighty God and myself." Chief Tinubu had claimed in his speech that APC stakeholders had rejected Governor Abiodun, but the game changed after he intervened in the matter, maintaining that Mr. Abiodun could not have become governor without him. In the meantime, the presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, who doubles as the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Mr. Sani Yabaji, has received the ADP certificate of return to fly the party's presidential ticket in 2023. Mr. Yabaji, who addressed journalists briefly after receiving the party's certificate of return, promises to provide the needed political leadership that Nigeria needs to actualize her potentials. The ADP presidential candidate maintains that Nigeria's underdevelopment and rising insecurity is largely driven by bad governance.
This country is at crossroads in the sense that it's being faced with multiple challenges which are largely man-made. Largely man-made because everything that a country needs to be great is given to us in abundance. God created a little heaven on earth, and it's called Nigeria. What is standing between us and the enjoyment of that heaven, believe you me, is leadership. And the essence of having a political party is to create a platform by which governments can be changed through the ballot box. Yes. And this certificate, it is the beginning of the great change that will transform the lives of the people of this country.
Staying with politics, after dumping the All Progressives Grand Alliance APGA, former national chairman of the party, Senator Victor Omer, has clinched the Labour Party's Anambra Central senatorial ticket. He was declared winner earlier today after the senatorial primary held in Awka, the state capital. Senator Omer was the lone aspirant, and he gathered 32 votes to win the ticket under the Labour Party.
I am very happy. One is that Labour Party has offered me this platform to contest the election and continue to defend our people. Going to the Senate is very important for me at this point because our people are heavily challenged in Nigeria. And the National Assembly is a place we need people who are capable, bold, courageous, and competent to represent our people in the midst of our daunting challenges. The second thing that makes me happy is that this has afforded me an opportunity to reunite with my brother, Mr. Peter Obi, who actually started this. On Sunday night, he called me and sympathized with me over the outcome of the ABGA primaries and asked me to engage Labour Party leadership to see if I can have the opportunity to emerge from Labour Party.
In other political stories, a former member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Eseme Yibo, says the 2023 governorship race in Akwa Ibom State will be a well-contested election. This, according to him, is because the candidates of the two leading political parties, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the All Progressives Congress, APC, are coming from the private sector with business backgrounds. Mr. Yibo made the remark while speaking to journalists in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, on the recently concluded primaries of the All Progressives Congress in the state.
A week ago, the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State held its governorship primary, and Aka Nudofia clinched the ticket, polling over 1,000 votes. In support of this win, a former member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Eseme Yibo, has come out to declare that Mr. Odofia is the best match for the PDP governorship candidate. He made the declaration at a press conference to debunk allegations that the APC primaries in Akwa Ibom State did not hold.
There's one APC, there was one primary conducted, and there was a result. We have the brightest and the best of chances now. The brightest and the best of chances. I'm going to give you. Now, our governorship candidate, Mr. Akanodofia, is coming with an enterprise development instinct, and which is what the Akwa Ibom people are desirous of, to move to the next level. And it's going to be a very well contested election, no doubt about that, because the two candidates from the two political parties are coming from a background of private sector drivers. Mr.
Yibo also denied reports that there were factions in the party and maintained that Mr. Stephen Ntukekpo is the rightful chairman of the party in the state.
There is only one APC headed by Senator Adamu Abdullahi. They went to where they were directed and mandated to go and conduct the primaries, which is number 6 Ekbobo Street.
Mr. Yibo, who is the APC candidate for the Eket federal constituency in the 2023 election, is optimistic of staging a comeback to the Green Chamber of the National Assembly.
In part two, after the break, ahead of Nigeria's Democracy Day, our focus tonight is on health, and we'll be outlining major policies and issues in the last 1 year. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. All Progressives Congress Presidential Screening Committee clears 13 out of 23 of its presidential hopefuls. INEC releases guidelines for conduct of 2023 general elections, says Commission will not accept overcrowding at collation centres. Party agents to stay 2 meters away. Lagos State Government crushes over 2,000 impounded commercial motorcycles 72 hours since commencement of total ban on motorbike operations. And 100 days into the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is optimistic of victory at the end of the war. And ahead of the APC presidential primary scheduled for the 6th and 7th of this month, some members of the All Progressives Congress under the aegis of Gaskia Youth Movement are asking the Federal High Court, Abuja, to disqualify the former Lagos State Governor and presidential aspirant Bola Tinubu from the party's presidential primary. The members made the request in a suit filed before the court. The APC and Chief Tinubu are listed as first and second defendants, while the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is listed at the third defendant. Part of their prayers include asking the court to determine whether Mr. Tinubu can participate in the APC primaries or that of any other political party, given what they call questionable educational background and date of birth. The plaintiffs are also asking the court to declare that upon consideration of the relevant laws, Chief Tinubu cannot participate or contest in the primary election on the platform of the first defendant, that is the APC. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has unveiled fresh regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections in Nigeria. The Commission unveiled the document at a special meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. Speaking at the event, Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, notes that the new document is necessary as the former document no longer fits in with the provisions in the new electoral law.
This meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security is holding at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, exactly 2 weeks to the conduct of the governorship election in Ekiti State, and the electoral umpire is here to brief on its preparations. First, the Commission launches the new electoral guidelines for the conduct of elections in Nigeria, a document it says will also guide the conduct of the Ekiti State governorship election later in the month.
With the coming into force of the Electoral Act 2022, it has become necessary to review the Commission's regulations and guidelines to govern the conduct of elections. Going forward, the Commission will focus attention on election administration, logistics, inclusivity measures, and above all, security.
When this meeting held in April this year, the INEC chairman raised serious concerns about insecurity and how it is negatively impacting the Commission's preparations for 2023. Although INEC had appealed to the security agencies to improve the situation, it seems that nothing has changed.
The security situation in many parts of the country did not allow full deployment as planned. In some states of the Federation, INEC registration centers were attacked, but even worse, the death of our staff. This has forced the closure of some of the registration centers.
However, the National Security Advisor is optimistic that the security situation will be addressed.
In fact, the 2 ops orders we received encompasses everything that could pose a security threat in the state election. The ops order, if the IG, the intelligence community will religiously adhere to that ops order, we are very, very optimistic that the election will be conducted smoothly without any rancor.
The new election guidelines provide, among other things, procedures for collation of ballots, postponement or suspension of electoral activities, as well as the steps the Commission will take where an official of the Commission is forced to declare a result. The INEC chairman says the guidelines will be used for the conduct of the 2023 general elections, as well as pending off-season elections before 2023.
And the president has returned to Abuja from his 2-day state visit to Spain in response to an invitation by his Spanish counterpart, Pedro Sanchez. He arrived at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 12:40 p.m., where he was received by top government officials. While in Spain, President Buhari met with the head of state of the Spanish nation, King Felipe VI, and discussed issues of mutual interest to both countries. The president also visited the UN World Tourism Organization headquarters, where he expressed the readiness of Nigeria to host the first ever global conference on tourism, culture and the creative industry in November this year. He also met with Nigerians living in Spain on the sidelines of his official visit, as well as 2 Spanish companies doing business in Nigeria, promising more ease of doing business in the country. And shortly after his arrival from Spain, the president assented to the appropriation bill of 2022 recently passed by the National Assembly. By the president's assent, this act repeals the Appropriation Act 2022 and enacts a new Appropriation Act 2022, which intends to authorize the release from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 17.3 trillion naira. This is contained in a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Honorable Umar El Yakubu. And in continuation of our review of different sectors in the past year, ahead of this year's Democracy Day, we look at the health sector, which remained eventful throughout, from the battle against COVID-19 to the spread of monkeypox. Obtaining a Maturity Level 3 certificate was a proud moment, acknowledging growth in Nigeria's research and manufacturing capacity. Our correspondent, Mirialale Yusuf, reports.
COVID-19 was by far the most scrutinized disease and the biggest event in the health sector at the beginning of the 7th year of the current administration. From over 166,000 recorded cases and more than 2,000 deaths at the time, affected people are now more than 250,000, and there have been over 3,000 COVID-19 related deaths. On May 28, 2021, about 3 months after vaccines had arrived in the country, over 1.9 million first-dose vaccines had been administered, but only about 33,000 people had gone for the second jab. That figure has increased dramatically to almost 27 million first and over 18 million second jabs as at June 1st, 2022. Sadly, more than 1 million vaccines were destroyed because they expired in storage. In the 3rd week of July, the Presidential Steering Committee put 6 states and the Federal Capital Territory on red alert for a 3rd wave of COVID-19 due to an increase in daily confirmed infections. As much as 700 cases a day were being reported, but getting residents to adhere to safety protocols was an uphill task. The country endured a 4th wave commencing in late December, but by the start of April 2022, most COVID-19 restrictions had been eased following a consistent drop in daily new cases nationwide. There was a change of guard at the NCDC. Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa became DG of the institution, replacing Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, who went on to be Assistant Director General of the Health Emergency Intelligence at the World Health Organization. Monkeypox has been popping up since 2017 in its most recent reappearance in Nigeria, but in a twist was transported to the UK in early May of 2022 by someone who was said to have traveled from Nigeria. The disease spread rapidly to other non-endemic countries.
More than 550 confirmed cases have now been reported to WHO from 30 countries that are not endemic for monkeypox virus.
Nigeria's situation is now receiving more attention, with scores of confirmed cases and 1 death.
There is no outbreak of monkeypox. I think the term outbreak is being used wrongly. Yes, we are having cases of monkeypox.
This environmental degradation we're talking about, where we're forcing animals and human beings into the same space, is really a problem for the world.
Perhaps the most monumental news within the year was the award of Maturity Level 3, a certificate which grants Nigeria the capacity to use mRNA technology to manufacture vaccines, among other medical preparations.
To get there, we needed to overcome 868 recommendations. That was as of January 2018.
This is big news because for decades, the country has not produced any vaccines. But now, several entities are working on preliminary models.
We didn't get the kind of immune response that we expected. We are now regrowing the cells themselves. It's taking some time. If we cannot, we'll get to buy them again.
A strike of resident doctors in August 2021 was met with the federal government's no work, no pay rule. The issues were non-payment of salaries, arrears, and hazard allowances, among other things. It was called off after 9 weeks and the signing of an MOU. According to the Nigerian Medical Association, brain drain has caused a deficit of over 315,000 doctors in the country. No doubt, the health sector has navigated through some rough times and come out on top, but the same problems that assailed it are still prevalent. For the sector to transit from reacting to being ready for every health emergency, more must be done in research, infrastructure, recruiting manpower, and capacity building. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
And still ahead on the news at 10. On Business News tonight, global food commodity prices fall for the second consecutive month in May, and this is according to latest report by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Do join us again. And we have more stories from Abuja studios. Here's Linda Kibe. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. The Kaduna state government is taking the bold step to kick off a medical drone delivery service for its residents. The new service is a partnership between the Kaduna state government and a Zipline company to help provide access to routine and emergency medicine for millions of people in the state. During the unveiling of the drone services in Kubau local government area of the state, Governor Nasir El-Rufai said the initiative would also help achieve universal health coverage in Kaduna.
In 2021, the Kaduna state government signed a partnership with Zipline, an aerial logistics company specialized in delivering medical commodities, to launch its operation in the state. This revolutionary new service will help in the delivery of emergency and efficient medical care services. The state government, Zipline officials, and other stakeholders are gathered at Pambegwa in Kubwa, local government area of the state, to witness the flag-off ceremony.
I am pleased that the Kaduna state government and the people have responded swiftly and are the first state in Nigeria to benefit from our transformational innovation that will greatly contribute to achieving universal health for all.
This project is a significant step towards closing the gap in quality healthcare service delivery within the state. This is because it will significantly reduce the difficulty people experience in accessing essential medicines.
The initiative is one that is close to the heart of the state governor. He believes it will hasten the attainment of universal health coverage for its residents.
It is a safe, secure, and effective technology that will help to advance our governance agenda to improve access for our people to decent health services. We are grateful to Zipline for choosing Kaduna State as the pilot for this innovative project. In collaboration with our National Sovereign Wealth Fund, the NSIA, we are building another cancer center that will, on completion and staffing, make Kaduna a foremost medical tourism destination within Nigeria and the ECWAS sub-region for oncology and cancer management patients by 2023 by the grace of God.
The company handling the project says it is more than ready to deliver its services to the people of Kaduna and will be rendering aerial logistics services that focuses on delivering medical commodities to remote areas.
The road was long, but it is also because each one of these agencies cares extremely about the safety of Nigerians. And that is something that we need to appreciate a lot.
This partnership between the Kaduna state government and Zipline Medical Drone Delivery Service is said to be the first of its kind in Nigeria and is expected to increase access to healthcare services across the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State.
To the judiciary, Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court Abuja has fixed August the 29th for judgment in a suit seeking to extradite suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Mr. Abba Kyari to the United States for trial on alleged internet fraud. The judge fixed the date after taking arguments for and against the suit by parties involved. The counsel to Kyari, Mr. Nureni Jimo, asked the court to refuse the extradition request on the grounds that he committed no offense to warrant the federal government taking him to the United States of America. In another legal matter, the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Wuse, Abuja, has remanded Peter Nwachukwu, the husband of a late gospel singer Osinachi, in the Kuje Correctional Facility, pending the hearing and determination of the homicide-related suit instituted against him by the Attorney General of the Federation. Justice Njideka Nwosu-Iheme gave the order after the defendant pleaded not guilty to the 23-count charge bordering on domestic violence and homicide. He ordered that the suspect be remanded at the correctional facility and adjourned trial to June 16th and June 17th, 2022. Nwachukwu's wife, Osinachi, died on April 8th, with many accusing her husband of subjecting her to domestic violence, leading to her death. Leaders of ECOWAS are committed to cementing the bond among the people of the region by providing a first-class road infrastructure network in the ECOWAS corridor. According to the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, this move will create better trade opportunities for businesses within the region. Speaking during an ECOWAS meeting in Abuja, he says Nigeria has completed the bridge that connects the country to the Republic of Cameroon, funded largely by the African Development Bank. And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Linda. Have a great weekend. Here in Lagos, in furtherance of the ban on motorcycle operations in 6 local governments, over 2,000 impounded motorcycles have been crushed by the state government. The motorcycles include those seized from different locations for contravening various traffic laws, which include driving against traffic, plying BRT lanes, and operating on unauthorized routes. The Lagos State Task Force chairman explains that the crushing exercise has followed due process as enshrined in the Lagos State Transport Sector Reform Law of 2018.
It's been days of enforcement of the law, banning commercial motorcycle operators in 6 local government areas of Lagos. In Ojodu-Bega, the boundary between Lagos and Ogun State and Ikeja, one of the busiest areas in the metropolis, the law is in strict compliance. Residents are gradually adjusting to the ban as they walk down to the parks.
Stopping it is one thing. 2, to continue. 3, to make sure there's adequate security. Because as you stop them, one way or the other, they will enter streets to find who to look. But if
riders in Ojota move against traffic to pick up their passengers, flouting the law, but alert not to be caught by the enforcement team. Our camera prevented this Ikorodu-bound passenger from joining this rider. Another rider in military camouflage picks up a passenger.
God, well, I pray it should not happen, but in case it happens, maybe I will look for a solution for myself.
Elsewhere in Ikeja, thousands of seized motorcycles condemned by a Lagos court are assembled for destruction.
The same policy that affects Okadas affects all the tricycles that are operating in those houses. And at the same time, you understand that Korope was not operating in Lagos until February 2020. It was when they banned Okada, when they banned tricycles, that people started buying Korope. But it was just early this year that we started seeing inflow of tricycles again. And we started seeing inflow of motorcycles in large number.
In a few days, This motorized crushing plant would have completed the first stage in the line of processing of the metals, ready to be turned into materials for other products.
And now time for some business news. Here's Joke Rogers.
Business news. Thank you so much, Millicent. Well, global food commodity prices fell for the second consecutive month in May, and that's according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. The new findings contained in the FAO's Food Price Index report released today shows that the drop was driven by the downturn in prices of vegetable oil and dairy products. According to the report, both commodities reduced by 3.5% in May, marking the first decline after 8 consecutive monthly increases. However, the FAO says wheat prices increased last month due to India's announcement of an export ban, as well as reduced production prospects in Ukraine following the Russian invasion. Nigeria's foreign trade in goods rose by 11% in the first quarter of 2022 to 13 trillion naira in quarterly comparison against the 11.7 trillion naira recorded in the fourth quarter of 2021. The data, which was released today by the National Bureau of Statistics, also indicates that the value of exports rose by 23% within the period to 7.1 trillion naira, up from 5.76 trillion naira reported last year. The NBS report stated, adds that Nigeria's total trade stood at 13 trillion naira in the first quarter of this year, which is higher than the 11.7 trillion naira value recorded in the fourth quarter of 2021. And outside Nigeria, South Africa recorded a trade surplus of 15.49 billion rand in April, which narrowed from a revised surplus of 47.2 billion rand in March. Exports dropped 19.1% month-on-month to 151.79 billion rand, while imports were down 2.9% to 136.3 billion rand. The deterioration in the trade balance was in line with the results of the APSA Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index survey, which saw the PMI gauge fall markedly in April on sharp declines in new sales orders and business activity. Let's give you some more numbers at the local stock market. After 4 days of downbeat performance, Nigeria's stock market is back in the green as investors take advantage of the lower prices of some blue chip equities on the NGX. Will Ibong tells us more about this.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. After much negative trading these past few days, the NGX actually ended the final trading day well in the green. Index was up by 0.18%, much awaited, but with only 50 billion naira appreciation to the market cap, and that's not enough to cover the huge losses already recorded in the week. But we have market giants, Nigerian breweries, O&O, Zenith Bank to thank for the positive performance. We could say that the NGX has already been there, done that, and probably priced in all these moves. Also, interesting price action today as volume was boosted by block trades in UAC and FBN Holdings. Transcorp still not out of the picture on that list, but still a red activity chart nevertheless. Sentiments are probably slightly still weak. However, we've seen a sharp reduction in sell pressure for some names, probably giving stocks a bit of room to recover, perhaps. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Willie Bung. Back to you.
That's business news. All the news at 10. Back to you, Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Joker. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pledged to continue defending his country as Russia's assault on its neighbor entered its 100th day. The war has been on for more than 3 months, with Moscow driven back from the capital, but launching a huge new assault in the east. Well, Simon Pusey has more on this and on the UK celebration of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Let me observe that your long reign reflects the distance.
The Archbishop of York has thanked the Queen for staying the course in his sermon at a Jubilee service of Thanksgiving. Members of the royal family and leading politicians were joined by 400 key workers and volunteers at St Paul's Cathedral. The Queen herself was not there after experiencing discomfort following celebrations on Thursday and is watching on TV at Windsor Castle. Prince Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry and Meghan are all at the Platinum Jubilee service. It is the first appearance in the UK for Harry and Meghan in 2 years. They kept a low profile at yesterday's events. The event is part of 4 days of celebrations for the Queen's 70 years on the throne. Yesterday, the Queen led the lighting of the principal Platinum Jubilee beacon from her Windsor Castle home as the first day of celebrations to mark her Platinum Jubilee came to a close. Meanwhile, landmarks around Australia lit up to celebrate the Jubilee, with the government announcing it would rename an island in the country's capital after the Queen. Meanwhile, Canadians gathered for a series of events in Toronto's Old Town neighbourhood to celebrate. Canada also shone a purple light on Niagara Falls to honour her reign. Russia's war in Ukraine, which began on the 24th of February, is now in its 100th day. Fighting continues in the key eastern city of Severodonetsk, which is now largely under the control of Russian troops. President Volodymyr Zelensky has declared that victory will be ours. NATO's chief, Jens Stoltenberg, has warned Western nations to prepare for the long haul. Speaking to reporters after meeting US President Joe Biden at the White House on Thursday, Stoltenberg said NATO must continue to support Ukraine in what is becoming a long and sustained conflict.
President Putin wanted less NATO, and therefore he invaded Ukraine, but he is getting more NATO, with more NATO presence in the eastern part of the alliance, and also with more members. And the decision by Finland and Sweden to apply for NATO membership, they are historic decisions, and Finland and Sweden as NATO members will strengthen NATO, strengthen our transatlantic bond.
Meanwhile, Russia has launched its Progress cargo ship to the International Space Station, dedicated to the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic on the 100th day of what Russia calls its special military operation in Ukraine. The Progress MS-20 cargo ship is delivering 1,458 kilograms of scientific equipment to the ISS, as well as fuel, water, and other supplies.
Other everyday places that have become killing fields.
President Joe Biden has said the US should ban assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines to tackle what he called the carnage of gun violence.
P226 comes with a 21-round magazine.
Addressing the nation after a spate of mass shootings, Mr. Biden said too many places had become killing fields. He said if a ban was not possible, the age limit for buying such weapons should at least go up from 18 to 21.
This is not about taking away anyone's guns. It's not about vilifying gun owners. In fact, we believe we should be treating responsible gun owners as an example of how every gun owner should behave.
And the Tesla chief executive, Elon Musk, has told top managers he had a super bad feeling about the economy and that the electric car maker needed to cut staff by about 10%. In an email titled "Pause All Hiring Worldwide," he sent to Tesla executives underscoring an increasingly gloomy global outlook with prices soaring. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And now for some sports news, here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. World number 5, Rafael Nadal, reached his 14th French Open final after Alexander Zverev was forced to quit their semi-final after suffering a horror right ankle injury. Zverev had to leave the court in a wheelchair after turning his ankle in the second set after more than 3 hours of play. After screaming in anguish, a tearful Zverev was helped from the court by medics. Minutes later, the 25-year-old returned to the court on crutches and conceded the match. Norway's Casper Ruud will face Rafa Nadal in the men's singles final of the French Open to be played on Sunday. Ruud beat Marin Cilic 3-6, 6-4, 6-2, 6-2 to reach his maiden Grand Slam final. The 23-year-old becomes the first Norwegian player to reach a Grand Slam singles final. Well, Europe's football governing body, UEFA, have apologized to spectators for their frightening and distressing experience ahead of the Champions League final that was played between Real Madrid and Liverpool. Now, UEFA insists no football fan should have to face such scenes. Thousands of supporters were unable to access the European club football showpiece match at the Stade de France, despite having genuine tickets, in the mayhem that saw the French police use tear gas at close range, even against children. The Spanish giants Real Madrid beat England's Liverpool FC 1-0, but the match was completely overshadowed by the chaos outside the stadium. And Nigeria's under-17 female national team, the Flamingos, are battle-ready to take on Ethiopia for a chance to pick the ticket to the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in India. Having won the first leg 1-0 in Ethiopia, the girls are determined to finish the job at the MK Abiola Stadium in Abuja on Saturday. The final round qualifier match will be played 4 p.m. Nigerian time. And British heavyweight Joe Joyce has tipped WBA, IBF and WBO title holder Alexander Usyk to beat Anthony Joshua in a rematch. Joyce claims that Joshua will need to make drastic changes to beat Usyk and then reclaim his belt for a second time before calling out the Ukrainian fighter. Juggernaut Joyce last fought the Ukrainian in 2013 when both were amateurs, but believes he has what it takes to beat him this time around. That's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Melissa, for the round.
Today and the main news again. The All Progressives Congress Presidential Screening Committee today cleared 13 out of 23 of its presidential hopefuls. The aspirants were screened on Monday and Tuesday by the screening panel headed by former national chairman of the party, Chief John Odige Oyegun. Also today, we told you that INEC has released guidelines for the conduct of the 2023 general elections. The commission said it would not accept overcrowding at collation centres. Plus, the Russian invasion of Ukraine today reached the 100-day mark, and President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was optimistic of victory at the end of the war. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.